So this is a very interesting situation. When I drove into the driveway last time and parked it, the car was running fine. But when I started it up again, I had a P0202 and a P0204 because the number 2 and the number 4 ignition circuits were bad. Okay, you're going to need room to get at these injectors, so it's a good idea. I removed this tray right here. I'm going to kind of walk you through it. Grab from the other side and push toward the front of the car, and then unclip it. I'm going to exaggerate, so I'm going to unclip these little latches. Then I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver and push in on this latch while I'm pulling up on it, and you just got to kind of force it, and this will pop off. These are just little wedges that latch in here and here. So once you pull this off, then there are 3. You can pull the cable out of the way a little bit, and there are 3 latches where you have to pull the latch to the rear, and then it will slide up. You can see here it's on the rail. If I pull this latch back, it unlatches and it comes off, and then I take that out of the way. And what that does is that lets me see the injectors there. So the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect this here. There's a red, you pull this back toward the back of the car, a red latching mechanism, pull this cable out. And there's a little snap-in mount here for this cable assembly. It's got a couple of snap-in supports here. There's one right here. Right here. Alright, getting this thing disconnected, you got to pull this little red latch to the back. This is a real pain. This clip right here mounts right here. So I moved it out, I squeezed the connector here, removed the mount. Oh, by the way, this little bracket it's mounted to fell off and it fell down underneath the car, so I got to be careful of that. Then I pull this clamp here to the rear, and I'm trying to disconnect this assembly from this female from this male. It's extremely difficult, very, very tight. So I shot some WD-40 in there to loosen it up a little bit. Finally, what I had to do was use 2 pairs of vice grips. Now, they're plastic. These things are plastic, so you got to be careful. I set the locking thing here to where it's about a half, almost 3/4 of an inch, and this is about a 1/4 inch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, I don't know if you can see real well, I'm going to grab with the needle nose guys right here, and then I'm going to put the normal vice grips on the male portion, and then I'm just going to work them back and forth until they come free. After quite a while, 2 or 3 minutes of working on it, I was finally able to disconnect this connector here. So now the bracket here is out. That goes, there's a little adapter that goes here that I got to get from underneath the car. The first wire comes in. Here's the number 4 going in here. Here's the number 3 going in here. This is a little adapter that plugs into this brass mount on the top. This one here is plugged into the aluminum mount for the fuel. Looks like fuel intake right here. Okay, here's the number 2 that was broken, and then the number 1. In the video, when we're under the hood, I show you how to pull the clip off using the needle nose pliers. I just grab hold of this and pull it off this direction. You certainly can do that, but I think probably, I didn't try it, but I think you can squeeze this. Notice how the little metal clip here moves out of the way. You can probably reach down in there, squeeze it, and then pull it off without removing the clips. Okay, so what I did is, I don't know if you can see it, I just grabbed, it's about that orientation, I grabbed this pin, or this clip, from this injector right here, the connection, pulled it off like that, took it out of the way, and then I'll be able to remove the injector. I gotta do that times 4. So what I did in the video was actually remove this clip right here, and then afterwards I just kind of, squeezed it back and reapplied it, if you will. Just stuck it in the grooves. And that's when I realized, yeah, you could probably do this. Okay, this is important. None of the auto parts stores had the whole assembly. They sell injector connectors. So it's important to understand the wiring here. You can see that there are 5 wires coming out of the plug. This guy right here was the short one. This was the number 4. Right here is a wire that's coming back from downstream. If you flip this over, it has the same color code as this wire here, which is the bigger of the 5 wires coming out of this thing. So my assumption is that this is the equivalent of a ground of some sort, that the juice gets fired through the little short one and it grounds out through the back, and that they all share a common ground. Okay, I think I figured out the color scheme here. This first one is yellow. This is the number 4. This one is predominantly yellow with a purple stripe. That's number 3. This is predominantly purple with a yellow stripe. That's number 2. And this is purple. So, and then the shared ground is this one right here, which is a blue and red kind of color. And you can see that the harness has been fully stripped. It's got a little protector here, tubing that goes between the segments. These were the little clips that mount in to the intake manifold. It's hard to see. So that's what goes down into that brass fitting on the intake manifold. And from the last videos, I've flipped the orientation. The plugs are here, just so that because they're physically laid out a little nicer. So plug, the opposite end of the plug is the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, whichever way the plug is. Okay, I replaced all of the adapters or the connectors using a combination of compression fittings and shrink wrap to secure them and cover up the worn spots. Now I'm going to wrap them in black tape and put the shrouds over them. Okay, you can see here it's been clipped back in. As you push them in, make sure that you hear a little clicking sound. If they haven't snapped in, they won't stay in. So you'll hear a definite clicking sound. You can move this cable out of the way, and you can see right in here the number 1 connector. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 connections, and then up here I reattached it. So let's go see if it'll start. Okay, looks like it needs an oil change, 82 code, but other than that, The other day when I was running it, this was rough as a cop. Whoops, a little music there. This was running really rough. Obviously with only 2 cylinders, it was shaking the car. Now, that's the little bracket that dropped off, and fortunately it fell through to the ground. So when you disconnect this from its holder, make sure that you have to squeeze this right here to push this out to the rear of the car. As soon as you get the plug and its holder free, take this little pyramid shaped looking attachment, take it off and put it someplace safe. Here I reconnected to that brass fitting, put a zip tie. Here to the aluminum fitting, put a zip tie. I'm going to cut those. Then I'm going to reinstall the rail here. First is to put the tray in. You got 3 notches here that go in along here, so you sort of tuck it underneath, rotate it around, and guide it into place. There's a place there, and there. Push them down. Then this cable rests here. Then I'm going to reattach these. You can hear them sort of snapping into place. Now, this is what I'm going to be monitoring. This is where the black tape is. Now, this is fuel, so I don't think it's getting so hot that it's going to blow up the fuel line. So, but I'm going to keep an eye on this. This is where all the, I think it was mouse chewings that had done the damage. So I'm going to kind of keep an eye on this and see what happens.